right, greetings. Sending you all some warm, positive vibrations from the garden. This is Body Culinary, and long time no see. So I'm tapping in with you today as we continue to move forward into this very last part of the year, right? As we enter and usher in a new year, and Sundays is when we usually do coaching. People are already setting off fireworks, right? A lot of fireworks going where I'm at, and we're going to get into our some of our Sunday coaching, and today we're going to share it with some of our folks in our extended community. So, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Body Culinary, also known as Kwasa Peaceful Eating, professional chef, personal trainer, natural born woman with a womb and a uterus. And I'm grateful for that experience, mother. And on this channel, in this space, I like to share some of my journey of radical self acceptance, and what that looks like is really being appreciative and creative with the features that I have been divinely assigned. As you can see, kinky, cottony, natural hair. I don't know if you can see it, but this is my Afro bouffon today. I really like to take a lot of things off the table, right? Such as hair and food and things that distract me from really being present in life. So this is the hair that I have. It doesn't behave like most people's hair, and I'm really embracing it. And I embrace creativity as well as prioritize ease and comfort. The last thing I want to be stressed out about is my hair, right? I want to make sure I'm siphoning off or allocating a lot of my energy and my resources towards what is the most important. And so those are three leverage lifestyle practices that I share a lot on this page. Those three leverage lifestyle practices are peaceful consumption, food that demonstrates that it loves you back. You can call it whatever it is that you'd like to call it. A daily personal movement practice, essential, daily. Daily is a habit. It's a type of hygiene. It's not just for aesthetics. Aesthetics is great, but it's so much bigger than aesthetics. And then we have garden slash nature therapy. And I'm of the perspective that everybody can grow something, even if you have a small space, even if you have a windowsill garden. And it is actually important to practical spirituality. It's important to relaxation. It's important to stress relief. It is also big for food security. And it can actually go a long way to help those of you that may be challenged with stress eating and eating mindlessly, eating on automatic pilot, right? So, yes, love yourself, the body that you have. But I'm also very clear, someone that's come from a family pattern of diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, cancer, all the comorbidities. As a result, without making ourselves bad or wrong, our lives are a responsibility. So I like to make the distinction of self-soothing and self-comforting with food. It has a purpose, it's because we don't do anything without a reason. And we really like to explore that in our coaching. That's a big part of my coaching practice. But we're not doing it for nothing. It's serving a purpose, and it's so easy to beat up on ourselves. I've been on this path for almost 35 years of natural, healthy eating, living foods, and fitness and yoga. It's been 30 something years. And it's a journey. Hopefully you can benefit from the coaches, having more readily available coaches, investing in yourself. I know that's something I prioritize to shorten your learning curve. So it doesn't have to take 35 years for you to come to a space of peace with your body. That doesn't mean complacency, right? Distinction. But to a place of peace and acceptance of what it is that you have, what it is that you've been divinely assigned, taking on what's driving everything, right? And we do need nutrition for brain and mental and cognitive function. But developing and cultivating some awareness about why we do the things that we do, that's really, really important, right? It's easy to just muscle through the exercises and even perhaps sometimes lose weight and then come right back to the same space where we have that triggered autopilot self-soothing. So the three leverage lifestyle practices again: peaceful consumption, a daily personal movement practice, and garden/nature therapy. These are three practices, if you will, that you have access to. So huge, such a big distinction. You have access to, and they will continue to serve you and benefit you until your hair is white, until you're a little old man or a little old woman, or a bodaciously fit and vibrant older person, a very seasoned person. These practices will really serve you. And I think perhaps we can really underestimate the leverage and what they can give you back for the investment of your time, your energy, and your attention. So, do like if you find some value here and explore the channel, share it. I invite you to share this with someone that could benefit, or someone that's been saying for the longest time that they'd like to change. I also invite you, in order to leverage your time on the internet, right? Because we are a very easily conditioned and programmed species. It is what it is. Whatever degrees or whatever, we are a highly programmed species. Just look around, right? So I invite you to also to maximize the use of these videos by replaying them while you're perhaps doing laundry, or while you're prepping your fruits and vegetables, or maybe perhaps if you're walking on the treadmill or doing your walking outside to get your steps in, kind of like you would an audiobook, because it's really important principle. So I like to give principles to stay in the conversation, right? And by staying in the conversation, you're looping new thoughts that are pointing in the direction of the life that you desire, the results that you desire for yourself. So you might be the only one around you that really has a vested interest in changing your habits, your eating and your consumption habits. Perhaps it's directly affecting your vitality, your ability to be mobile. Perhaps you're looking down the line at what's coming 5, 10 years down the line if you don't make some changes. Perhaps you don't want to rely on some mean people that have to take care of you, right? For pay. Because we didn't realize we were losing our grip strength, our mobility, our flexibility, our muscle tone, which we're losing in the 30s. Maybe you don't know, how do you get to a place where you're frail and you can't stand all the way up, or you fall and you don't have enough muscle to prevent you from having fractures, right? These are things we're often not thinking about because we're in survival mode, but they're occurring anyway. And it's our responsibility. We are 110% accountable for what we're implementing into our lives. So that's what my practice is about as a trainer. I focus on functional movement because although I've trained in some of the best gyms in New York City, and I've done fitness competitions and obstacle courses and yoga certified and kettlebell certified and postnatal certified, I've known, especially coming from my family background, that I didn't want to give myself an excuse to not move. So a standard for me is anywhere I go, I have a home gym. It doesn't rely on a gym. I will build equipment. I'll be very, very creative. So I don't have an excuse not to move. And that's really, really, really important. Most people's perspective and their thought process around movement, a daily personal movement practice, as I call it, or exercise, is a big reason why they don't get into action, because of what they think exercise is. But it's so much bigger than exercise. If you only knew, many of us are missing out because we're not engaging. And you're not going to get fit. Your savior's not coming to go get on the treadmill and do your walking for you, get your steps in, have you put the fork down from overly calorically dense food, self-soothing with food. Nobody's going to do that for you. And it is something that takes consistency. Most of us, there are numerous reasons why we don't see results, and most of us are inconsistent. And even as a coach, I can admit many of us don't follow instructions to the T, and we're not consistent. So there you go. All right. So why is it so hard to change? You can let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section, respectfully. And I invite you to be very interactive. That will go a long way also in staying engaged in the conversation. If you're passive, nothing is going to stick. You're not processing. We're just being very cerebral, but it's not touching us at an emotional level. We're not being vulnerable. Our ego, our sense of self is not, it's not at its best when it comes to honesty. It has a purpose, but it's not very honest, and it's not going to be honest and accountable when it comes to putting down things that are self-soothing or self-medicating. It's actually the ways that and the imprints that we have when it comes to self-soothing. They're a big part of our identity. So it's almost like something that's called like an ego death. We feel good. It's almost like what I'll call a split mind. In a sense, we feel good chemically and from a perspective of self-soothing when it comes to the things we choose to indulge in to make us feel better, the numbing out, whether that's um, certain kinds of non-intimate intimate relations with our reproductive organs, or the snack foods that are masquerading as nutrition, or the mind-numbing stimulation that we're getting from these handheld screens for hours and hours. It's an imprint. It's usually on automatic pilot. It's a good portion of the day, many years if we had to do an accurate accounting of how much time that we're losing because we're not fully present, aware, or cognizant of how our psyche is working, how the self-soothing. How is it as a species that we self-soothe in ways that literally destroy the body and the brain? And why is it so hard to change? Right? So it's definitely chemical, and we have become wired from a young age chemically. We have lots of responses to trauma that is a reflex that makes sense to soothe ourselves from arguing, cussing, fighting, um, imminent danger or perceived danger, whether that's physical or psychological or emotional danger. Our reflex is to protect ourselves. And if you can't remove yourself from the space, then our reflex is to turn inward. And so the turning inward that's being marketed to us now is to get high off of everything. Food, other people's reproductive organs, to use them like pacifiers and narcotic substances, even to the detriment of this one and only body temple, even to the detriment of our vitality, even to the detriment of our self-esteem, because it's a type of survival. We're wired for survival, and we come out of school with these degrees without really understanding our psyche, which also becomes profitable for those folks selling us solutions that often give us several more problems. So, why is it hard to change? Hey, Allspice, why is it so hard to change? Why is it hard to change, Allspice? This is one of the kittens that was born here several months ago. Why is it so hard to change, kitty? Why do you think it's hard to change? It's really humbling. Animals and nature can really humble as you watch our patterns and our habits. So I set up a place. I guess I'm a cat doula now for these kittens to be born right here and to watch them with their mothers and breastfeed. This left paw prints all over my silk skirt. But to watch how they bonded with their mama, with Mama Kitty over here, with her Martian green eyes, and I was very cognizant and intentional about not disrupting their breastfeeding process. Now they've gotten quite big, almost as big as Mama Kitty. But I think their behavior definitely would be different if they hadn't been allowed and given the space just to breastfeed peacefully. So now all they know is this garden. So think about us as the species when that initial nurturing and warmth and care and intimacy, when that process is interrupted, that's an imprint. If mother doesn't feel safe or the mom doesn't feel safe and she's munching anxiously, feels a lot of anxiousness and anxiety and fear that's coming through the breast milk, that's chemical, because food is also natural chemicals. So I think we really observe that we really take for granted the imprints, and we hear it now, these words are thrown around, but the programming, the way we're responding, being set in stone. Why is it so hard to change? I invite you to grab your journals or your notebooks so that you can engage, stay in the conversation so you can really start to stimulate your critical thinking, and also to be engaged, in contrast to being passive, right? Quite often we're taking in information passively. And so what does that look like? We can take courses for years on self-help. And now with the internet, with the advent of the internet, there's so much information that's readily available. So again, why is it so hard to change? Well, we can take in the information on a superficial level, but the ego is still there protecting. We don't have to be vulnerable, right? Our ego doesn't have to be vulnerable or to confront things at a deep level where different emotions would come up, right? We're very passive in the receiving. So it's not being tested. There's no interacting. There's no engagement. So we really stay at a surface level. And if any discomfort is approached, bad or perceived bad memories or negative memories and emotions, there's that reflex, that imprint that starts to eat or to self-soothe. So there's something right underneath the self-soothing, and it's uncomfortable. We may even find it embarrassing or shameful. Those kinds of thoughts can come up. I should have this handled, or I'm this age, or this event happened so many years ago. Why is it still bothering me? Well, it's because we're not really understanding the psyche. Now, companies that are selling things to us, they understand our emotions and our triggers and how and why we purchase things emotionally, or things that we will do based on what we're seeing on these screens, but we don't really seem to have a grasp on it. Also, we have our various different um, religions and belief systems that actually, as well intentioned as we may not be realizing that some of our belief systems are keeping us in avoidance of being accountable and responsible, right? To have to bear, if somebody else took the rap for us. But if we have to really sit with things that we have done or results that we have in terms of what our contribution to our situation is, or even to look at, things that have happened to us, it may be so scary and so overwhelming that mentally we just have a reflex to check out. So, again, I invite you to grab your journal, your notebook, and write down, why is it so hard to change? And let me know, what do you come up with? So take a few moments. Why is it so hard to change? It's chemical. Is it physical? Is it something in our nervous system? Is it the memories? Is it the autopilot? Right? Is it hypnotic? The self-soothing, is it hypnotic? Right? Uh, do we have accompanying music or different tones of conversation and voice that trigger us into self-soothing? These are some things to be aware of. Right? Why, again, is it so hard to change? Eating things that we know are harmful. And now it's really interesting. We live in a time where the commercials can really have a tendency to pump a message that can render us much more complacent when it comes to the urgency to change a lot of our non-beneficial habits. I make an effort to choose words um, uh, that help us see possibilities, right? So don't become overwhelmed. But a lot of the way um, self-soothing and comforting and vices is being marketed to us encourages us to not be accountable and responsible. So again, what is our rationale for staying the same? Most people want to change, but when it comes to the self-soothing, it's like a warm security blanket. It's sensory, it's sensual, it's almost like a warm blanket, right? We have these feel good, it has feel good connotations. But the flip side of that is that emotional, is that touching that imprint. It doesn't really, it's not really present to what is happening to our physical house as we are not present. Again, you can write it over and over, which is also a good practice. Why is it so hard to change? I invite you to write, what am I not understanding What am I refusing to acknowledge? What is it that I know I must do? What is it that I know I must do? Actions I need to take, being more organized, letting go of things. Why is it so hard to change? Well, a lot of our habits, they're familiar. If we've been doing them since we're 5, 6, 7, it's just become an identity, part of the ego, our sense of self, of who we are. So if something is our identity, we're going to protect it, right? We feel insulted, right? And get really angry if anything feels like a threat to our sense of self and who we are, our self perception of who does somebody else think they are. Who, I know who I am. This sense of ourselves is often, it often ignores what's happening with the physical body. And we need this body to be as healthy as possible. So we got several things here written down in terms of why is it so hard to change. I'd like to hear from you. Why do you think it's so hard to change? I invite you to join me for the Women's Healing Circle. We'll be going over deeper into topics like this, which can be really beneficial if you're dealing with stress eating, if you're looking for natural, healthy weight loss without drugs and surgeries, if you're really looking to embrace and maximize the health and vitality of the body temple that you have presently. That's that is ideal. That is the goal, because the body responds to whole, fresh, living and unprocessed fruits, vegetables, seeds and nuts, sunshine, play and rest. The body knows what to do, and the body knows how to let go of unhealthy weight. So join me in the women's circle also. For those that are interested in coming to join me in Central America for the New Year's Eve retreat, send me a message. Yes, because we'll be right on the river, literally on the river next to the pool, enjoying live foods and fitness, women's circles, journaling, African dance, and yoga. So it's gonna be really, really, really good. Also, we're going to be having a holistic fit conference on November 23rd. So that's right around the corner. And now there are direct flights from New York. Yay! So if you're interested, or if you're interested in coaching and exclusive opportunities for mentorship and paid mentorships, if you'd like to invest your time and you're committed to growth, then reach out to me. Info at body-culinary.com. The link tree is down below. If you have any questions about anything we discussed today, leave it in the comment section. Create a great day on purpose, and we will connect soon.